As many of you know that I have been using my Burn Guardian on a regular basis over the past 4 months already, and ever since I did the test for the Burn Guardian, because I got sick of the Berserker build, and so I would like to try something new, and so that was the start, and I started to do some of the tests for my Burn Guardian, and it's got to the point where I now more favor the Burn Guardian compared to the traditional Berserker build. Not because I hate the Berserker build, but it's just because I prefer something new for once. Because obviously Burn Guardian wasn't a thing back then, prior to the Heart of Thorn expansions, but now condition damage is, you know, taking some of the classes. They are more in favor of the condition damage compared to the Berserker. Now in that sense, the Guardian is obviously, the Burn Guardian cannot compete with the Berserker build. I can guarantee you that the Berserker build still, the Burn Guardian, sorry, not the Burn Guardian, the Guardian as a class itself, the Berserker build is still the highest damage in the game for the class Guardian. And the Burn Guardian is just another way of trying out new things, provided that you are like me, you got sick of playing Berserker build for every single one of your character, then feel free to try something new. And I have to say that I have been enjoying my Burn Guardian as a build itself, and I have been using my Burn Guardian for the past 4 months now, ever since I did the test back in August or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And I've been using that every day, and I can tell you that it is one of my favorites, aside from my theme, of course. And so now for me, I'm doing this video for two things. First of all, I have a number of complaints to me about my general PvE Burn Guardian build, because the soundtrack, the sound effect of the game was a little bit loud, and I went back into the video itself and I listened to it, and I tried to use my headphone and also my speaker to test out the sound effect, and I can confirm that it is a little bit loud. So I went back to my video editing and I found that the footage that I was recording at the time was it was a little bit loud compared to my voice. And so I could redo that video again using the old footage, but I'm not going to. This will lead to the second reason why I'm making this video. The second reason why I'm making this video is because it is unlikely that we are going to see any more changes to the builds, or to the class changes, or any balance of the class at all. December, we're already in the month of December 2016, and most likely AreaNet will close. Will not, they will be on a break. They will not be releasing out any more like big changes for the class or anything like that. So this is precisely why I want to do a recap of the Burn Guardian for the 2016 version. And of course, next year there will be more changes to the balance of the class. That's unavoidable, because obviously they need to fix here, fix there, and make the class balance, and etc. and whatever they want to do with it. And so next year, when the time comes, I'll be doing another video in regard to the balance of the class. But for now, I like to just recap everything that I have been testing out for my Burn Guardian and for my experience as well in a single video. I'll try to keep it short as much as possible, because I have done a number of Burn Guardian videos already, and obviously, like, for those of you who already watched those videos, it may not have anything new information except for some minor twists, tweaks at the end. So you'll see what I mean. But overall, I like to have a recap, and also to fix the soundtrack problem. There won't be any more soundtrack for this, and it's only purely my voice that I explain the class and the build itself. So I will start off with the build, the specializations. How do you put in your attributes at first? That has always been my format so far, up until now, and I think that it will continue to do so. Secondly, I like to have the equipment, so the armor, the rune, the accessories. and I will divide that section into two. One is to have the maximizing damage options, and the second one is the budget option. Now budget options, let me be very clear in this sense, is that it is affordable and is provide you with a decent amount of toughness so that you can defend yourself against the mobs, but also maintain a decent amount of damage so you can deal damage to the enemies in the game. But it's mainly is the main aspect of the budget option is to have a decent not blowing up your bank. So after that I'll be going into the weapons, and then once I finish off with the weapons, the last sections of my videos will always be what are all the information that I can give you in regard to either the food or perhaps maybe that some tips that I can offer from my experience about this particular build. So without further ado, I like to get into the build. Specializations, I like to do it live. The reason for that is because it's much easier for me to just click on the attribute and the item description so that I can refer that and just go with it, make it easier for me to explain. So I have three virtues: Radiance and the Zeal. Let's start off with the virtues. The virtues, I'm going with the bottom top. Now for this build, I prefer to use the Master of Consecrations. It is purely because the Master of Consecration right here for the utility skill, it will provide me with an extra AoE spell so that I can target on the multiple mobs coming at me, or I can use it as a damage for the boss, the damage spell for the boss, especially when it's staying for like the duration of 7 seconds. And also the burning stacks, at 3 burning stack you will be dealing it for 14,000 damage over the period of 10 seconds, so that's huge. Alright, so moving on to the next one. This one is obviously it's the survival skill. Drop a protective area at my location whenever I'm struck below the health threshold. The last one is Permitting Wrath. The Permitting Wrath is it will enhance the virtue of justice right here. Now under no circumstances you'll be activating this. The reason being is the virtue of justice, it will burn the foes of every field attack. Now for this one, it will also allow you to deal the area effect on the target each time the virtue of justice passive effect activates. And so because of that, and also it will allow the virtue of justice to cause more burning frequently, and that's precisely why you do not activate the virtue of justice under no circumstances at all. Now for the other two, virtue of courage and also virtue of resolve, yes, you're activated, they are survival skill. Move on to the next one, Radiance. Radiance, I'm using top, middle, and top. Now the top one, I'm using the Inner Fire. It will gain Fury whenever I strike a foe that has a burning stack over the threshold. Simple, right? And Fury will provide me with a critical chance. Move on to the next one, Radiance Fire. Radiance Fire will allow me to have the skill on my torch, which is number 4 right here, Zealous Flame. Zealous Flame, whenever I throw it to an enemy or the target, it will apply the 3 burning stacks on the target, which over this period of 6 seconds it would deal 8,460 damage, and that's really good. Now because I have the Radiant Fire will allow me to reset the skill whenever I inflict a critical hit on the enemy. Now this is not definite, yeah, so whenever I critical hit an enemy, it will provide me with a chance of resetting it. And so ideally if you have a 100% critical chance, then yeah, sure, you can keep on throwing it back to the enemy. And so that's precisely why in the next section of this video, in regard to the gear, I will tell you, I will show you some of the gears that will try to maximize these options. But for now, that's the idea. I was trying to make the skill reset as many times as possible so that I can throw it to the enemy. But it also depends on the gear as well, and provided that you have the Inner Fire right here as a Fury increase in 20% critical chance, it's really good to support this attribute. Last one, Amplify Wrath. Common sense, right? Burning damage increase and also burn enemy whenever you successfully block them. Zeal. Now for the Zeal, you have I'm using the middle bottom. Now for the middle, increased damage against burning foes. Simple, right? And the Kindle Zeal, which is gain condition damage based on my power. Simple. Alright, so now for the last one, previously in my other 2 videos or in the testing video as well, I was using the Spirit. Now the Spirit is good, yeah. It provides me with an extra companion so I can deal damage to the a single target boss or champion, but it can also provide me an extra companion so that I can attack multiple target and just command my Spirit to go and attack that target, and so I can attack other targets, and subsequently whenever I kill them, whenever I attack multiple targets at the same time, the more loot I will receive. But I have noticed that recently, because the Burn Guardian is lacking a bit in terms of CC. If you don't know what CC is, I will put up another video which hopefully will be coming out next week or so. The CC, the defined by the mechanics, is it has a different what do you call it, the effect on your character and also for your damage, and so I think that it will be more appropriate for me to put up as a separate video rather than sticking everything in here. Alright, so because I find that the Burn Guardian, like, you know, the CC kill is quite lacking, so I get rid of my Spirit weapon, Sword of Justice, and I put in my Bank Signet. Now the Bank Signet provide me with an extra option of knocking down the foe for 3 seconds, and that is CC for the Burn Guardian that I use. Now because I don't use the Spirit anymore, I have to move it down to the Symbolic Avenger to make it up for that. And the Symbolic Avenger is that I deal more damage whenever the enemy is standing in my symbols, and that goes with the symbol of punishment, as you can see in here. See, symbol punishment, and it strikes for 8 times, and whenever it strikes, it has a chance of inflicting the burning condition, so it's very good. Alright, so for the rest, I like to just touch on the utilities. So for the utility, I use the Shelter. I don't use the Resolve, I don't use the Wrath, I don't use the Receive the Light. I only use the Shelter because the Shelter allows me to block, and as you recall back in the Amplify Wrath, whenever I block an enemy, I will inflict the burning condition damage on that enemy, and that's an extra nearly 2000 damage in the burning, so that's very good. So for the first utility, you have the options. You can either go with the Spirit, but if you go with the Spirit, please keep in mind that you have to go with this, right? Now you can also go with the Bank Signet as well. I don't use any other one like the Signet of Judgment or anything like that, because obviously it's not I try to maximize the most out of the damage outside of my Burn Guardian, and for that reason I prefer to either take the CC or the Spirit. Next one is the Purging Flames, and the last one is Signet of Wrath. And for the Elite, I only use the Female Wrath to give me the quickness and also the fury. Now from time to time, you'll be facing with a situation where you would be required to have the wall reflection to reflect any incoming projectiles back to enemies, especially when it comes to the boss. So that's fine. But if you are going to take the wall reflections, you'll be lacking the CC. So, you know, it also depending on the team. So judgment is the key in here. If you see that you need to use the wall reflections, feel free to go ahead with it. Otherwise, most of the time it depends. Again, it depends on a lot of scenarios and options, and also this, you know, the event itself. So be open. See the boss. If you know the boss is going to be really a pain in the ass with his or her projectiles, use the wall of reflections. Otherwise, stick with the Bank Signet for extra CC, or if you want more damage, go with the Sword Justice. Alright, that's pretty much it for the specializations. I'd like to move to the gear. Now for the equipment, I like to divide this into two. The first one will be maximizing your damage, and the second one will be for the budget options. Now for the maximizing option, I am using full Viper set for the equipment, and the accessory I'll be using Sinisters. Now for the rune, I'll be using the superior rune of Balthazar, which will give me burning condition damage and also burning durations. Combine that with the Viper set, the expertise inside the Viper set will allow me to buff off my burning durations. And so ideally you'll be aiming for 100% burning durations for your character. And because of the full Viper, if you decide to go with the full Viper options, you will have 100% of your burning duration, so there is no point for you to be getting the Viper's accessories, because obviously it's already at 100% maximum burning durations. You cannot get any more than 100%. So because of that, I was aiming for Sinisters to maximizing my critical chance, and also to maximize my burning condition damage. Alright, so let's move on to the what do you call it, budget option. Yeah, so for the budget options, I am using the Rabid set. The Rabid set is precision, toughness, and condition damage. And for the rune, I am using the same superior rune of Balthazar. Now for the accessories, I will be using Rampagers. If you're on the budget, Rampagers is fine, or you can use the Rabid Dire. The Rabid Dire set is a hybrid. It will have a the set itself, it has a stat like this: precision, toughness, vitality, and condition damage. And so that will buff up your toughness for defense, and also your vitality for your hit point, and also it will deal a decent amount of damage from your burning conditions. Alright, so for the Rabid options, you can get it from the temple in exchange for your karma. So that's one way to go. Otherwise you can craft it, but I don't highly recommend for you to be crafting it, because you know, if you're on the purchase options, chances are you may not have a lot of resources for this one. Perhaps you can spend it on something else that is more important, or perhaps maybe that you just want to try out the Burn Guardian first for the budget option, see if it's, you know, suit your playstyle before you moving on to committed to making a full damage set. So given that reasons, I don't recommend you to be, you know, crafting the Burn Guardian Rabid set. Instead, just exchange for your karma. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the equipment. I'll be moving on to the weapons. Now for the weapon of choice, I'm using my staff, and for the secondary weapon set, I am using my Scepter and the torch. Now for both of these sets, I always recommend people to be using the Vipers. The reason for that is because I was aiming to achieve 100% of my burning condition durations for my Burn Guardian, and that's precisely why I prefer to have all of my weapon set to be Vipers for this build. Now if you do not have the resources to go for this one, then don't worry, just go with the Rampagers for now. Once you have enough resources to spend on the Vipers, then swap to that. Or if you feel comfortable with using Rampagers, then you later on, if you feel like you need to move to Vipers, then go ahead. Alright, so for the sigils, for the staff, the first option will always be the sigil of smoldering, superior sigil of smoldering. The reason for that is because it will increase my burning duration by 20%. Now for the second sigils, you have a variety of options. You can either go with the sigil of bursting for extra condition damage, sigil of mallets, or sigil of corruptions, or sigil of perception, etc, etc. I'll be putting out in this video an image of the optional for the Viper staff for the sigil, so you can select anyone, any one of them that you feel comfortable or have the resources to spend on. Alright, so what's the staff? The staff is, to me, it is for lazy farm. So the skill of the staff 1, it will inflict, the normal attack will inflict it will attack multiple targets at the same time, and combine that with the Virtue of Justice, because I attack multiple targets at the same time, and the Virtue of Justice will spread the burning condition damage to the target every few attacks. So that's very good, especially when you are doing a mindless farming, like say, let's for example the ore casual farming, mindless farming, or even in meta events that you're facing multiple mobs and you've been doing it for quite a while and you just you can't be bothered, so you just want to press F1, sorry, not F1, you just want to press 1. So that's precisely why I'm using my staff anyway. Yeah, and also it can provide you with a buff as well from skill 4, and that's pretty much it. Now for the Scepter and the Torch, the Scepter and the Torch is my main damage weapon, and I will be using my, well actually I am using the Spear's Sigil of Smoldering for my Torch, and for the Scepter I am using the Spear Sigil of Malice, which will give me a 10% increase in condition duration, and that combined with the rest of my equipment, that will give me a 100% increase in burning condition duration for my Burn Guardian, and that is what I was aiming to achieve. Alternatively, you can use the Superior Sigil of Accuracy on your Scepter to increase your chance of the Zeal, increase your critical chance, and as I have already mentioned to you earlier, that the critical chance is quite important for the Zeal Flame to keep on resetting the skill. So you can either go with the Mallets for 100% increase in condition duration for the Scepter, or you can go with the critical chance, whatever works for you, depending on what sort of resources that you have to spend on these two. Alright, so that pretty much wrap up for the weapons. I'll be moving on to the other information sections. So for the last section, I don't usually talk much in this because obviously I already covered most of the stuff that I want to say in the Burn Guardian in my previous sections anyway. So for this one, I just like to touch a little bit on the ascended quality of the accessories and also for the food and utility. So let's start off with the food and utility. For the food and utility, I don't usually go for the increase in your condition damage. The pizza and the crystals that increase your your condition damage for the Burn Guardian, I don't use them, purely on the basics that I'm using my Burn Guardian for meta events and for mindless farm on the regular basics, and so I don't see the point for me to use expensive food to increase my damage, because at the end of the day my damage is already decent enough, and because it's meta events, so a lot of people will be doing it with me, so there's no reason for me to spend a tremendous amount of money to use expensive food. So what do I use? I use the Magic 5 food, spicy pumpkin cookie, and also the utility, I'm using the sharpening skull. That's what I usually use. These you can get them from the trading post, because the Harlequin, the source of this food came from the Harlequin event, and the Harlequin event is already over at the time of me filming this, so there will be a lot of them floating around on the trading post market, so you can get them for a very cheap price. I think it's under about a silver, no sorry, not even a silver, it's like under a silver something, it's like 50 to 70 copper, so that's not expensive, and you can buy like a stack of them, and it can last you for at least a month, because each of them is like 30 minutes, and when you buy a stack of them it's like 250, so you time it up, 250 time to 30 minutes, that's a lot of hours we'll be spending for the food. Alright, so for the ascended quality accessories, now I have mentioned that in my equipments that the ascended quality in my equipment, but I haven't actually talked about where you can get them from. Now I did a quick recap in a coverage for the 3 new maps, Bloodstone Fen, Ember Bay, and the Bitterfrost Frontier, and I'll be including the link down in the description so you can see that video of mine. So basically I was covering how you can get the ascended quality from those 3 new maps, and it's ascended quality, it has all of the stats in the game, so you pretty much you can get like Sinisters, or you can get the Vipers from those 3 maps. So if you have access to it, go and do those 3 maps. So check out my video in the description box about the 3 new maps coverage video. Alright, so that's pretty much it for my Burn Guardian video. If you have any feedback, please let me know down in comment, and as always, have fun, enjoy, I'll see you later.